Hello, and thank you so much for joining me for some Saturday night crafting. Tonight I've got kind of a show and tell for you, and then I thought we would create this card together and I show you how to do it. It's really simple and quick and easy. It took me about 10 to 15 minutes to make this card. No time at all. So if you're short on time and you've got some shape dies, this could work for you. So I wanted to start by sharing a box that I got from Craftelier. They are a craft company that are located in Spain and they ship all over Europe. I've shopped many times with them before and I absolutely love their products. And they reached out and said, would you like a box of goodies? And gave me the opportunity to pick out some things that I love that I can come and share with you guys today. So I said, of course, yes. And the most exciting thing in this whole box that I picked out were these labels. I'm just going to dive right in and start sharing with you what I got. And then we're going to create that project. So I got these labels. They are distress and oxide ink labels. And now I have printed labels. I have tried sticking them on. I've made a hot mess and I'm super thrilled with these. These are going on all my ink pads this weekend. I've got nearly every one of them in the oxide and the regulars. I've packed them all up, ready to go on my Easter holidays with the family, and I'm going to probably put my daughter to work and we're going to label up all my ink pads. The next exciting thing that I found was this low tack tape. Now I have got the mint tape from scrapbook.com and I love it. I thought I'd give this a go. It is a bit more tacky than the low tack tape from scrapbook.com, but it's kind of got a waxy feel to it. So this might be really nice and resistant to inks, which could be really good. I also got some little cute button dies. These heart dies here, which we're going to use today. They are lovely and nice and tight together, which means you can get really nice, beautiful, skinny frames if you want that, or they layer beautifully on top of each other. I also got some paintbrushes. I don't have any wide paintbrushes like this. And the ones on the right are like watercolor paintbrushes, which I love playing with when I do watercolor backgrounds. So I got some of their paintbrushes to try out. They always send you a little lolly, which is great. Although my kids always fight over it because they send me one. And my kids, I've got two of them, so they always get annoyed. They chucked in this punch extra as a bonus for me, which is really fun. And I had no idea what to do. I opened it and I was filming my opening it and I filmed trying to play with it and I got totally lost and I thought, what on earth am I doing with this? So I went on their website and I had a look at the video and it's really cool. You can punch out a whole entire square and make an actual puzzle out of it. And I will hopefully share that with you in one of the videos. We will make a cool card with it. They also have that masking paper, which I'm really excited to try out. And I got some white gel pen. One of my missions has been to find some really good colored cardstock that I can use for card bases. And I'm really excited because Craftelier now have these beautiful, gorgeous colored cardstocks. So these ones here are colored solid through and through, these little packs here. So they don't have a white core, they are just solid color, which is great. And this second one here, the bubblegum, oh, I love this kind of pink. It's so gorgeous. So I got 3 to try out and see how they go. They're a bit thinner. They're not super thick cardstock, but they'll be great for matting and layering. This set here is a winter cardstock. This is identical to the stuff I've got from Crafter's Companion before. Really nice and thick, beautifully colored. It's got a white core, so you could emboss it and then distress it to kind of share that sort of inner color and make it exposed. It's really, really lovely cardstock, and that's what I'm going to use today for making the card that we're going to make, the heart card. Now this card is really awesome for using up 12 by 12 paper. I'm going to make a 6 by 6 inch card for today, and I'm going to share with you all the measurements. Hopefully I'll remember to put them in the description box so you can create it if you want as well. I've got this really cute little paper pad which I picked up from scrapbook.com. It's got a very shimmery shine to it, so it's not pearlescent card, but the front of the cardstock looks very pearlescent. It's got this kind of shimmer to it, as you can see in the light when I hold it up. It's really pretty. I wanted a nice subtle kind of pattern paper to go on top of my card that wouldn't be too distracting from my sentiment in the middle. I'm going to use these heart dies here, but you can use any shape. So whatever you've got in your stash, make use of that. If you've got stars, if you've got balloons, if you've got just plain circles, as long as they're layering dies, you can do this. So I'm going to start by cutting my 12 by 12 cardstock down to 6 inches. Then I'm going to flip it the other direction and cut it at 7.5 inches. And this will make a 6 by 6 card, and I'll share with you how. We're now going to move it along and we're going to use a scoring blade, not the actual blade, and we're going to score it at 1.5 inches. And that gives us a nice little flap to work with. This will attach everything to the card. So we've got the little flap ready. We're going to cut our second flap, which will actually just be like a little panel at the bottom, not a flap, sorry. So we're going to cut that the exact same 6 inches by 1.5 inches. So the same as we scored the top, we're going to cut this piece. So you can kind of see how it's going to come together on the card. It's going to kind of be a little bit of a floating edge piece. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut myself some layers. You don't have to have layers. I find it looks a lot prettier and more effective if you've got some layers. So I'm going to do a white layer first so that it gives a little bit of contrast when I put that designer paper on the top. Now each of my layers is 1/8 of an inch smaller than the layer before. So my white layer is 5 6/8 of an inch by 1 3/8 of an inch. And then my designer paper, so the pretty paper, is going to be 5 3/4 by 1 1/4. And then that way they all line up and they give a nice little tiny border around the edges. Now because the middle is quite dark, we obviously can't really write on that bit, but also we're going to have a see-through element on the front of the card. So we really want to kind of make this like a sneak peek card. So I'm going to take a piece of 12 by 12 white cardstock. I'm going to cut it down to 5 3/4. Then I like to fold my card base and then trim it, because sometimes I find when I fold it, it then gives me slightly uneven edge because it doesn't count for the fold. So I then fold it over, cut the other side down to 5 3/4 as well, and that gives us a nice little border on the inside of our card. Now I can go ahead and assemble all my layers together and just get those pieces all glued on top, and I am ready to go with assembling the rest of my card. It doesn't take long at all. They're nice, simple, easy measurements to do. Nice, clean, simple, quick cuts. And you can assemble a really fun, crazy looking card that is really effective. Now, as I'm assembling this, I just want to say a quick thank you to everyone that watches my videos and subscribes to my channel. It means the world to me. I do this as a full-time job. I absolutely love it. And every single one of your views and comments and likes and subscribes, that's what earns me money with YouTube and pays me an income. I do occasionally have really lovely people ask if they could help support my channel in another way, and I do have a buy me a coffee set up down below in my description box. So if you do want to buy me a coffee, you can click that link down there, and it's fantastic because sometimes it buys me a little glass of wine on my Saturday night. I'm crafting along with you guys. So as I was doing there in the background, I was trying to work out what size heart I want to go in the middle. So I'm having a look at my heart dies, making sure they line up on the top and the bottom, because this little set of dies is what's going to hold together my two panels. So I've decided that I wanted to skip one of the dies in the middle, so I have a bigger gap and a fatter heart on the front of my card. So you can always skip a die cut if you would like a larger, fatter shape on your front of your card. Now I'm coming in with an embossing buddy. This is like a embossing powder bag. You could use talcum powder, you could use cornstarch, anything like that that's a bit powdery and fine and a bit dusty. I'm trying to remove some of that stick. You can see there on my right hand side of my hand, it's all dusty. It does get a little bit everywhere when you're kind of banging the bag down on your sticky tape, but it just helps to lift that adhesive a bit. So when I run this through my die cut, the pressure of the die cutting machine, my Sizzix, doesn't squish that tape too hard into my die cut. I am going to be die cutting silver foil. I don't want that tape to lift any of it. You'll see in a minute that I do end up with that problem because I didn't lift enough of the stick off of it. So here's my first heart. I'm going to cut myself 2 white ones and then the silver one to go on the top of the white ones. The reason I'm doing 3 layers is because I want it nice and sturdy. That heart is going to be lifting the card open and closed. It's also going to allow my card to stand up on my desk, so I don't want that to be floppy at all. I want to make sure it's nice and sturdy. So I'm going ahead and cutting out those 2 white ones and the silver one to go on the top. And then I can go ahead and adhere those all together. I like to use liquid glue when I'm working with die cuts like this. I find it gives you that little bit of wiggle room so that if you go a little bit wonky, you've got time to adjust it. And it also saves the faff of trying to find the right size sticky tape to get these layers lined up when you've got a bit of a fatter edge at the top and a skinnier edge at the bottom. Now we can go ahead and assemble it, and I'm just going to grab some paper clips and hold my pieces in place. I don't want them flopping about. I want them to be exactly where I want them to go on the card when it's all finished. Now my top layer wants to pop up because I have got that card base already underneath it. You could glue that in last and then you don't have as much of an issue with it popping up. I'm going to line up this heart nice and central to make sure that the top of my heart and the bottom of my heart are hitting both those panels. In order to have good measurement, I'm going to use my low tack tape to line this up. Now I didn't remove enough adhesive. You'll see in a minute I pull up some of that silver foil, but I'll show you how you fix it. So I'm taking my tape and I'm lining it up carefully along the bottom edge of my designer paper. That way I know exactly where I've got to put glue. So I'm doing the same on the top and the bottom. This will also help me line up my heart when I turn it back around after I've put glue on it and put it down. So I'm going just all the way up to that designer paper, and then that way I know when I stick glue above those two lines, I know that I'm putting glue where the cardstock is only and not in the middle where the gap is. So I go and apply my liquid glue just along that top edge, making sure not to go beyond where that tape line is. It's a nice, simple, cheat way to apply adhesive and see exactly where you're going with it. Now I have the same thing when I flip it over. I know exactly where to place that heart because I'm lining up those same two edges again. And then that way that glue sticks nice and beautifully exactly where I want it to go. It's not seeping through and sticking to the next layer below. Now sadly I didn't take enough stick off, and you can see bits of my foil come off when I pull it off. So the best way to avoid this is to glue your two white layers together, stick that on, and then glue your silver one on after you've adhered it to the card. But in this case, I'm going for a fourth layer, and I'm just going to stick another silver layer right over top of the first one, just to make sure that is beautiful and looks flawless and seamless as I want it to be. It's always a great idea to keep those dies stuck together until you're fully finished with your project. These are new in my collection. They are from scrapbook.com. I found them when I was scrolling for sentiments, and I am thrilled. I've got happy and I've got birthday. I've also got thanks, and I think I have you as well. So these dies match the stamps, and you can use them intertwined, so you can either stamp it and then die cut it out, or you can die cut out both layers. Most of them have 2 layers on the dies, and it's just a great way to have a whole bunch of different kinds of font for your sentiments. And this is what I love having in my stash. I love having different fonts, different sizes. I just find it looks beautiful, and you can mix and match, and it just kind of, I don't know, it just gives a better vibe. And I love that they have these dies that you can buy with them as well. They weren't the cheapest, but they are photopolymer, and the dies are really good quality as well. And I'm absolutely so excited. You're going to see these in pretty much every video because they are totally the bee's knees for me, and I'm really excited if you can't tell already. So here I'm picking out my sentiment. I want to get the biggest sentiment I can inside that heart so that it really pops and stands out. And this is what you're going to see when you lift up that heart panel, as well as when it's down. You can see the sentiment right through it. I'm going to use a stamp platform to make sure that I get that lined up really nicely. I'm going to quickly rub it on my stamp with my cloth just to make sure I get any sticky residue off of it, or any of the sort of processing chemicals that they use to make these stamps. Just kind of is a good idea to wipe your stamp before you use it for the first time, just to make sure it stamps pretty and clearly. Now I wanted to color in that bottom birthday a little bit, and I wanted to kind of use a bit of a lighter blue to kind of go with the theme of the dark blue and light blue. So I dug out my Simon Hurley ink pad, and I'm just taking my paintbrush, which is new in my stash, and I'm adding in a bit of that color using a little bit of water and the ink, because this is a dye ink, so it blends quite nicely. And that finishes off the card. You could go and add gems if you want. You could stamp a little bit on the inside, put a little phrase in there, but I liked it how it was, and I thought it was really sweet. Now when it stands up, it's really hard to capture on camera, so I did put it on my windowsill so you could have a little view of how it looks when you stand it up. But it's quite fun, and it gives you that double layered effect, and it's just something different and something unique. So you've got a little flappy panel, but it's see-through. So I hope you enjoyed creating with me tonight, and I look forward to seeing you next week. I hope you have a lovely Easter. Take care and have a fabulous weekend. Bye.